What is going on, gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. It's 2023. It's been a crazy year. We've done so much work on this old car here. And here she sits. Today, what we're gonna do is we're gonna work on bringing in 2023 the right way. We've already posted a couple of things last night before the new year hit and one short video right after the new year hit. We're gonna go ahead and finish the whole rear end up. We still have some body work to do, but in the last drive, you guys probably heard it in the back, the whining sound. I got a bad wheel bearing out here. So I guess what we're gonna have to do is rip this back wheel off, get this thing up in the air and finally fix it. So that way we can go drive this thing around and have some fun. We're gonna go out there and try to swap this wheel bearing out and see how far we can get without going to a shop for a press, because as you can tell down here, we may have a powder coating oven and a sandblast cabinet and a nice plethora of tools, but we do not have ourselves a press yet. Right here, a part Timken bearing. This actually came from the guy that I got my rear subframe from. Now I have two of them, but we only need one for today. I'm not gonna tear apart both sides. That's all you get in there. It's still wrapped up. I'm gonna grab a jack stand, some of my wrenches and all that fun, get this wheel off, and we'll keep on moving through this. What we're gonna do is take a drill and one of these little nylon, it's like 80 grit, I think. So we're gonna use this, clean up the area, get a little brush in there, and knock as much of this crap off as possible. During all this, we're gonna have to take the axle nut out. I'm just gonna have to knock out that ball joint, that mount point down here on the bottom for the forward control arm, the center control arm nut and bolt, and then we'll take off this top one if we have to, along with the strut. We're gonna leave the brakes connected right now though, because we're gonna use the e-brake to hold this rotor in place while we crack this nut free. All right guys, I got that cotter pin out in pieces. It did not want to come out, but I've cleaned this off pretty well. So we're gonna go ahead and set the e-brake now, the parking brake, and we're gonna go ahead and get our big 32 millimeter right here. You guys can see that. Fits on there nice, and we're gonna try to crack this axle nut free. Now we got this thing nice and loosened up. Usually this is a pain right in the butt. We're gonna go ahead and start pulling our caliper apart. 14 millimeter for the guide pins. And do yourself a favor, make one of these little hooks out of an old coat hanger or get a zip tie or something. It's gonna be really nice to have this up out of the way, your caliper that is. I'm gonna get these things popped out. We are gonna have to disconnect right here, and we're gonna take this strut mount off and probably have to disconnect this bolt right here, which is no big deal. 3 more bolts, pop that strut right off there, pop that new ball joint off there, and we'll be in business as long as this axle's free. Oh yeah, the axle's free, look at that. She moves, that's half the battle right there. If your axle moves, life is good. Bolt pulled up out of here, the axle's free. What we're gonna do now is carefully, oh yeah, this is all disconnected back here. We got the strut popped off, we got the ball joint out, all that fun. I want to get this axle pressed backwards and pull the knuckle forward just enough so that I can get my wrench on the rest of the wheel bearing bolts behind this. And then what I want to do is put this upper bolt back in and then use my slide hammer to pop this wheel bearing out. All right boys, I got this thing. All the 4 bolts pulled out. You gotta be careful. These are the wheel bearing bolts in the back. If you do what I just did and you just crack that free, you can tilt it by removing that top bolt just far enough to sneak a skinny 14 mil in there. All this stuff is 14 mil. We got a 14 mil for the caliper bracket bolts, and the wheel bearings. I have the best tool I've bought so far. This is a Maddox 9-way 5-pound slide hammer that I picked up from Harbor Freight. Probably the best tool I've ever bought, period. I've used this so many times now doing something just like this or job similar to this, and let me tell you what, if you don't have one, you need one. So all you gotta do is line this bad boy up with 3 of your lugs. We're gonna go ahead and tighten these on, just get them started for right now. Oh, and I put the bolt back in up top side here, and that's gonna hold the knuckle in place. We also have our lower center control arm still attached. We have our bolt out for our axle, which we're gonna leave out for now. And we're just gonna get 3 of these bad boys in here. You want these all nice and snug. You don't wanna be able to move this thing at all. Then you go over here and you get Big Papa out. So it looks like with the tool in, it's a pretty long tool, gives you a good amount of throw here. So all we're gonna do is reach forward and we're gonna wrap this back a couple of times, and if we're lucky, this wheel bearing's not too rusted on there or seized up or whatever, and she should fly right out. All right boys, so because we do not have a press here at the TPG headquarters, aka the basement workshop, this is what we're left with right now. We got the center out. Well, boys, I guess the easy way is the hard way, and I learned my lesson tonight. This bearing came apart in pieces. The slide hammer helped. It did break free the outer section right here, down here on the ground, and all the bearings and stuff puked out, but this center section I cannot get out for the life of me. This 17, I pulled this one out, and then there's one more on the bottom for the center control arm here, so you're gonna disconnect 1, 2, and the ball joint on the back along with the strut. We have one bolt in the upper holding it on, and the e-brake cable is still attached. I'm gonna go grab a couple of jack stands, get that last bolt free on the bottom, and keep this show rolling. Let's get after it. We have the inner race right here, and yeah, it's pretty gross in here. So I'm gonna take a look at it. I got it propped up on a couple of jack stands. I'm gonna set up a punch, and I'm gonna use my big hammer right here. It's behind the light, kind of looking like it's coming from heaven right there. I'm gonna clean off this inside here. Maybe I'll go around it real fast with my drill. No kidding, guys. I was gonna tap on this a couple of times, and the inner lip here, and then I was gonna record it as I knocked it out. 2 taps, that's all it took. Kind of frustrating because I just took all this stuff out for 2 freaking taps. I'm kind of bummed about that. What can you do, I guess? We got that out of the way. Now this whole piece can come off. Let me run this downstairs real fast and clean it off. I'll be back out here once I knock that sensor out, and we'll continue on replacing this wheel bearing. We're gonna slap this all back together. We got our fresh wheel bearing sitting right here. So I'm gonna take this, throw it in here. I'll stick you guys over my shoulder, and hopefully we can get this thing knocked out in the next few minutes. All you DSM guys, I've been down here working really hard on getting this spindle cleaned because the race did not want to come off of it, but down here she be. Ground her right down until she was just about ready to pop off. I've cleaned it all off. I've sanded down the edges here, make sure there was like no high spots, low spot. Feels pretty good. We're gonna go ahead and take this outside. I gotta get it cold first, so I might throw it in the freezer upstairs for a couple of minutes, then throw some grease on it and try to slide it into the new bearing that we have outside. All right, boys, so I got the wheel bearing loaded in the back. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the spindle to press on. If I have an issue with those going in and pushing the bearings out the backside of the hub, I go to my local O'Reilly's and I'll rent one of their press tools. They didn't have one in stock, and that kind of sucked because I like that tool a lot, and I'm usually one of the only guys that ever knows that they rent one. And I'm probably one of the only few guys that ever does use it, but this just happens to be one of those times where I try to rent it and it's already out. We're gonna head over to Mavis because we don't have a press. We're gonna have the boys at Mavis go ahead and press in the spindle into that bearing so we don't destroy that $90 Timken bearing. If you guys have a press or you have an installer tool, that's gonna be the best way to do it. But anyways, weird start to my day today. If you guys have been following along on the channel for a while, y'all know that I've been executive chef at a restaurant in upstate New York in the Lake George area for the last 3 years. I've been a cook for a long time, and I do this stuff on the side as a hobby, like working on cars and wrenching and having fun building crap and just learning how to make car parts fit on cars that the parts probably shouldn't go on in the first place. Our job is normally a full year-round position up there at this restaurant we've been at for the last, well, the first 2 years, we'll say. So the first 2 years we were full-time, working every single day, me in the back, chefing it up, and then my wife was out front, and she would run the front of house stuff, and she was like the #1 server up at that place, she killed it up there. For the first couple years, full-time year-round. This year we get a notice in October. It was like October 3rd or 4th or whatever. We had a meeting with the owner, and he says, hey, we're gonna be seasonal now. We're like, oh shoot, we're gonna be seasonal. Well, when does that start? Well, we're gonna shut down for all of November and all of December and possibly January. So we're like, oh crap, it's October 3rd, 4th, 5th, something like that. It's the first week of October. We get the news. We're all kind of stressed out because if you guys work in food and beverage hospitality industry, and money's not the best in most positions, but if you are seasonal, you always try to plan ahead, like I would plan ahead all summer long had I known. Anyways, we had a little bit of money to fall back on, so it wasn't the end of the world. For all the younger staff, it was actually a little bit more of a difficult experience. These younger girls and the younger guys and the other cooks and stuff that we had working there, they're 18 to 20-year-old kids filling in part-time positions or whatever it may be, and they get hired under the guise that they're going to be there for all the winter months. Up in Lake George, New York, it's tourist town, so it's busy in the summer months, and then it's very dead in the winter months. So I get why the employer said, hey, let's shut this thing down for the slow months and become seasonal. Cool, whatever, I'm fine with that, I get it. Short notice, kind of sucked, but I get it, I totally understand. Truth be told, things have been kind of weird at that job for the last probably 10 months or so, 10, 12 months, you know, almost a year now. It's been just weird, it's been kind of awkward. Don't know why. Anyways, back to the story. So we get our notice of, you know, 3-4 weeks we're gonna be shut down for the holidays, which is even more of a crappy thing to deal with. So we're shut down for, you know, Thanksgiving, shut down for Christmas, shut down for the New Year, under the guise that we're gonna probably reopen at the end of December for, you know, a big New Year's Eve party and then welcome the new year in and start fresh. So everybody sits on unemployment for a couple of months, because why would you go and get a different job if you're only gonna be off work for, you know, a few weeks? The date to reopen came and went. Complete radio silence with the owner. We're all busy in our own respects, in our own lives, and all the different things that we all do, you know? We all have things that we do outside of our job. But we sat and we waited all November. We sat and waited all of December. The start date came and went, no word. I stopped into the place to see if anything had changed while we've been shut down, because, you know, you're not getting paid. You're not gonna go up and spend, you know, 3 days scrubbing the place out or cleaning the place out or any of the seasonal cleanup crap that you would normally do. If you're not on the books, what's the sense? I'm not gonna go paint a guy's house for free just for the hell of it, you know what I mean? But I go up the day before we're supposed to reopen and just scope the place out a little bit and see what it looks like, see if anything's changed, anything's been updated, and I see nothing has changed. I mean, the only thing that I saw was some evidence of a holiday party or something that had taken place, that all the dirty dishes and stuff got left in the sink and all the garbages for the last couple weeks. So, you know, I was like, you know, let's clean this stuff up. Spent a few hours up there that day knocking stuff out. And I get a text message yesterday from the boss man, and says, hey, meet me for a cup of coffee at this local coffee joint. I said, sure. So I go down there to meet him. Guess what? He let me go after sitting, waiting for almost 11 weeks on unemployment. Me and the missus waiting for the text message. Hey, come back. Let's start this thing up again. Hey, we're gonna reopen on this date. Or hey, we're gonna do a big New Year's Eve party. Nothing. We got nothing. All the other staff that was there sitting and waiting, sitting and waiting, sitting and waiting. Well, he lets me go out of the blue this morning. I come home, share the news with the missus. She's frustrated, as you would be. I get it, you know, but the thing that bugs me is that if you really knew that you were going to move on to somebody else to run your kitchen, or you have somebody else in mind, I don't care, that's fine. But why would you tell your staff, hold on and wait, and then 10 weeks later, almost 11 weeks later, say, you're not coming back, we're moving on to somebody else? Like, I'm sorry, I don't think that that's the right way to do things, personally. Maybe you guys think differently, but at the same time, at least have enough respect to hit the person up, you know, the first or second week of close. Don't make us sit there for 10 weeks waiting for you to lift the phone and give us the word to come back to work. Well, we're all waiting. Our lives are on pause. Nobody's making any money. I'm doing all these odd jobs and stuff and working on people's cars, trying to make ends meet. And it's very frustrating, because I could have picked up something else while I was doing that. Kept doing my YouTube thing, kept working on the GSX. Already been 2 months into a new job. But no, I don't know, boys. But anyways, we're here at Mavis. I'm gonna run inside real fast with this. We stopped into the Mavis that I called, and the guy on the phone said that they could do a spindle press and do a bearing for me. And then I got there, and the same guy told me that he was not familiar with that kind of repair. I showed him the part, said you just got to set up your press and hold the bearing in the back end and push the spindle into it until it seats. And he declined to do the job because he said he wasn't familiar with the type of repair. All right then, so guess if you guys ever have a wheel bearing you need done, you can rule out your Mavis. They will not be able to help you. Anyways, we did find somebody else who says that they can do it. Who knows what it's going to be charge-wise, but we're going to head over there right now and take a look. This is a local business called Warren Tire in upstate New York here. And these guys sell, it's kind of like a Mavis Plus, I guess you could call it. I called around to a few other places, my local Car Quest, which is a machine shop around the corner. The guy is not in, the technician that normally does all the work out back. He's only on Tuesday through Friday. So he's off Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and today happens to be a good old Monday. We have success. we have a new wheel bearing pressed on. Looking all happy. Now I just gotta go back and slap the brake back together on this. Not exactly what I wanted to do today, but again, stuff breaks and stuff's not available, and sometimes you can't always rent the tool you need to rent. $23 after tax to have a old crusty looking hub with a brand new bearing and an old spindle pressed together. I'll take it. I guess what we're gonna do is figure out what I want to do now. I love working on cars. I love cooking food. This YouTube thing has been really fun. You know, there's a bunch of you guys who reach out all the time and, you know, support the channel with likes, comments, you buy the merch, all that fun stuff. I don't know what I want to do. I'm so undecided right now. Kind of had a weird day today. Kind of felt down in the dumps, but then immediately felt better afterwards. I just think it's crazy that we've been strung along for almost 11 full weeks waiting to go back to our job. I don't know, guys. Hopefully none of this kind of crap's ever happened to you, but if it has, why don't you guys go ahead and down in the comments, share with me one of your wildest hiring, firing, or if you've witnessed an employee lose their job for some crazy reason or some weird injustice in the job site. And I know it's happened to a bunch of you guys. I just want to hear some stories because I feel like that's pretty crazy, sitting for 11 weeks and waiting to go back to work and then being let go after 11 weeks. What's something that a boss did to you? What's a job that you got let go of or you decided to leave from because things just weren't working out? This one, again, caught me out of left field, but I get it. I'm good with it. I'm at peace with it. Maybe you guys have some good stories to share. Anyways, I'm going to see you guys down in the comments, but let's get back to putting this car back together. All right, boys, we're out here. We have our wheel bearing all replaced, and we got our local Warren tire to press this spindle in. It feels so much better than the other bearing did. Now we have to go ahead and put all the e-brake crap back together on here. I'm going to straighten out this dust shield a little bit because I kind of bent it when I put it in the car. Now we got to reinstall it all, so that's going to be fun. All right, boys, we got the wheel back on this thing. I got the chocks pulled off from the front wheels. Let's fire it up and go for a rip. Well, boys, we're back to the house now. I'd say that was a pretty successful drive. I noticed that there's no more whine. We don't have any more issues with the squealing in the back end. The wheel bearing slapped together with the help of our buddies over there at Warren Tire, who hooked us up. What was it, 25, 30 bucks, something like that. I don't have the receipt right here, but it wasn't very expensive to have them press that in. It took them about 10, 15 minutes to clear out a job he was doing and bring that in and press it in for me, and now it works. So I say that's a $30 bill well spent. Or I could, you know, go to Harbor Freight and buy a $140, whatever it is, press. I know I say that, but I'm still gonna end up buying a press. That's the funny part, but we're moving along. 2023, we're gonna add some more tools down here. We're gonna keep these videos coming out. we're gonna keep adding things to this car. We gotta rebuild this engine, which is gonna be just so much fun. I can't wait to do that. But in all seriousness, I do want to rebuild it. I'm just ready to turn the boost up to whatever I can get out of that turbo and have a good time with it and not have to worry about, you know, bending a rod or melting a piston or anything. But anyways, guys, thanks a lot for watching. I'm gonna end it off right here. We'll see you in the next one. We're probably gonna go out and have some actual fun in the car in the daylight where we don't have to worry so much about, you know, the cop that's sitting around the corner, or if somebody's gonna call the police on us, or if we're gonna hit a deer out here. Because I'll be honest with you, when I first pulled out of the driveway to my house, turned right around the first block, and there was a gigantic buck and a couple other deer behind it. Yeah, that's a little sketchy. And I was only going like 5 miles an hour, but still, you know, those deer like to jump out in front of you when they hear your car or see your lights for some reason. Who knows? But anyways, gentlemen, thank you for watching. I appreciate all the support. We'll see you again very, very soon.